CardGamesTV1 Podcast. Tournaments, their strengths and weaknesses. But just some stuff that I notice that I see, that tends to be wrong with the competitive scene. And I see it in many different avenues. Like, for example, like sometimes I'll see. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that a lot of times tournaments, right, events for certain games, whether it be video game or board game or card games, tend to be very subpar. Like the most recent DBS regional, the being there and playing there was fun and all, but the chairs were trash. Like, it would have been awesome if there were gamer chairs, or at least office chairs, chairs that had cushion at least. And some of us are pretty big, and those dinky chairs weren't that great, and some of those chairs were definitely falling apart. And like I said, some of us are too big to be sitting in those weak chairs. So it's like, why don't we have like some high quality office chairs or gamer chairs, right? You would think, especially if this was a convention center, you would think that they would be upgrading and they would make sure that they have, some high quality stuff. Like, you'd think there'd be some next level shit there, especially considering the fact that this is the idea of chairs and tables. Like, the white fold out tables are standard, typical. We don't expect too much. We don't need something fancy when it comes to a table, right? And those white fold out tables are fancy enough. But the chairs are always a big difference, always a big deal. You want a chair that has a back that doesn't, allow the possibility of your, butt crack showing, stuff like that. Obviously, that tends to be an issue sometimes. So you want a nice, comfortable chair that covers your back. You want a chair that, it would be awesome if it had like a cup holder, to hold a drink or something. But the thing is, at least cushioning, because you're going to be sitting there for a long period of time, especially if you're sitting there for like an hour per round, at a time. You don't want, to be sitting in a very uncomfortable chair. So that's one of the many issues you'll see competitively. What else? Just even the idea that there's no timer per se. Like, there's no timer in general. Like, you would expect there to be a big timer a lot of times, where it's like, here, 40-minute round and start, and then you see the timer, right? And the timer will be running. So you can always peek over at the timer and see how much time is left, right? Because that can make a difference between winning and losing. Another thing is, it will also help to have it where every like, let's say they make it where everybody only is allowed 2-minute rounds. 2-minute turns. That there's somebody who states that 2 minutes, and then bang, you switch, right? You end your turn. That way the turns can move at a steady pace. That way no one's wasting time. No one's taking 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 12 minutes for their turn. This will make it where less players will try to play strategies that take too long, where they're playing combos and effects that trigger other effects, that trigger other effects, that trigger other effects, that just for the purpose of burning time. There's people who actually spend time trying to create decks that deliberately spend a lot of time. I literally was in a game where it lasted 2 hours. Part of it was because of the lag and my opponent not playing that fast. And I try to play as fast as I can, but with lag, it gets a little difficult when the computer doesn't want to do the functions you clicked on. But besides that, it's just the fact that certain moves, certain steps, certain things. Even some of my decks have certain actions I can perform every turn that slow the game down. Like, activating my unisons effect, activating my leaders effect, activating this battle cards effect, right? So if I have 3 cards in play that have effects, every turn I'm going to trigger all the effects, which is going to slow the game down because, you know, it's not as simple as draw, charge, play something, attack, or attack with leader, then attack with unison, then play a battle card. Whether the battle card's for defense or offense, you know, depends, right? But no, it's, you know, effect, play, trigger, effect. So many things happening. All right. Now, I try to streamline out of my decks a lot of the stuff that I do, and I try to do, you know, try to play cards that have simple effects, straightforward effects, and then just how I use them, you know, in unique, you know, play lines is where, you know, I get all the extra abilities, all the extra stuff, you know, the versatility, right? You want to be very versatile. You want your deck to be like a Swiss Army knife of dueling, right? You want to be able to do so many different things with it. So there's no problem with a card having more than one effect. It just get used to just using one effect, you know, more often than not in different unique ways. But that's the point I was making, where like you get that scenario where people playing a lot of different cards, and they'll try to play as many cards in a turn as possible, and that takes a lot of time, which is why I always encourage to not do that. I mean, if that's your strategy, that's your strategy too. So I just see that as a problem when there's only but so much time, you know, to play a game. You don't want to waste it on, you know, certain actions, right? You don't want to waste it on playing a searcher, searching out a card, grabbing the card, shuffling the deck, giving it to your opponent to cut, right? These are all these extra unnecessary actions that could be avoided if you just try to avoid doing it a lot. Like, doing it one time is one thing. Like turn 1, you know, play your 1 drop, go search something out, go, hopefully you got what you're looking for, shuffle, cut, boom, go. Because you're not doing much of anything else, right? Turn 1. But then turn 2 and above, you start, you know, you should be doing a lot of attacking, a lot of defending. You know, you should be playing the game, right? You should be battling. It shouldn't be more searching, more drawing, more actions, more activations. Play this to do this, and then this do that, and then this activate this effect, and this effect triggers off this effect, do this, and then it's like all this extra stuff. Unless it leads up to you winning by turn 3 or 4, it's too much. If your deck is like a turn 5, turn 6 win con type of deck, it's more of a late game type of deck, then it makes no sense to do all that unnecessary, you know, actions in the first, you know, couple of turns of the game, because you're just slowing down the game. And a lot of times that will hurt you more than it will hurt your opponent. You taking too long, because you're taking too long to get to your win, you know, your win con. Especially if your win con's late game. If your win con's early game, mid game, then it's not a problem. But if it's late game, then it becomes a problem, because you might not get to late game. But yeah, other aspects of events, you know, tournaments that I see that be a problem. One being hosted at like a convention center, or just being hosted somewhere that is not really tailored to, you know, card games, or just even, you know, something of the competitive class that requires at least tables. Like video games tend to require like a table, right, for the computer system and whatnot. You know, chess, you know, or any type of board game will require a table. Card games require a table. So anything that requires a table, you know, even table tennis, right? Anything that requires a table is, you know, it's like a lot of times I will see, you know, these types of things that involve a table tend to be subpar. It's like they just bringing out like catering tables and chairs, like, oh, here we go, the bare minimum. It's like, that's unfortunate that we get the bare minimum for playing, you know, our card games, right? Playing our activity. So that kind of stuff is one of the many things I be seeing wrong, which is part of what inspired me with the whole tournament center idea. Is like, yeah, we need a place that dedicated to basically tabletop games, is what it's called. Tabletop games, where you play, activities on tables, right? So we would need very comfortable chairs. Why do we have very subpar chairs? Now, granted, some places, there's probably like some really cool places that, really go out and, got cool chairs, maybe cool tables and stuff like that. And they got it all nicely pimped out. And that's great. But it should be a standard everywhere. That's the point I'm trying to make. It should be a standard. If I go to an event, I want it to be epic, right? I want my chair to be cool, and I want the table I'm at to be like cool, right? Right? That'd be cool for it to be cool, right? I expect certain aspects. I expect to be able to push a button and have a judge, appear, instead of yelling for judge. Because most people are not really that vocal, right? They're not the type of person that wants to be that guy or gal that's like, hey, judge. Some people are used to it, right? Some people call a judge unnecessarily. And I've had some scenarios where some people call for a judge unnecessarily. All they had to do was let me look at the card, and I would be able to confirm, like, yeah, that card works the way you think it does. It's fine, not a problem. And instead, they want to get the judge involved, and then the judge look at me like I'm the one that needed them to be there, needed them to explain to me the situation. It's like, no, I'm aware of the situation once I know what the card does. Once you read the card, I can comprehend. I can read cards. I don't need a judge to read a card to me. I can read it myself. So I've been in that type of weird scenario where literally a judge is trying to explain to me a card. I'm like, I get it. All you had to do was give me the card. I can read it and comprehend how it works. It's like, it's not rocket science. And that's one of the many things that, annoys me in, when it comes to card games. Besides, the companies, misprinting the cards or putting effects on cards that aren't clear to understand at first. So then they have to do erratas to clear it up, But that's one issue. But then the other issue is just, people just not reading the cards correctly. Or, I'm human. I make the mistake. Even sometimes I'll not read a card properly, or I'll assume that I remember the card's effect, right? And then later on find out like, oh no, I didn't remember Charismatic and Freeze's effect correctly. It's not KO any battle card, it's 7 or less. Shit, gotta remember that. That's important detail. That changes a lot. That's a very important detail not to get wrong. Shit. Imagine if they made it where Godzilla and Trunks hit 5 costs or less, right? That would be a huge difference. It would drastically change the power of the card. But anyway, so yeah, my tournament center concept of being able to make sure that you have judges specifically, or at least staff that can judge, that that way there's guaranteed that there's judges there, guaranteed that they're making money because they're being paid for for being there by the tournament, right? The center, right? They got a job and they're getting paid. It's not just for the events, but they're getting paid for just being there. So they do a lot of staff related stuff, a lot of logistics. Like, let's say, cleaning up tables and things of that nature. They do more than just judge. Judging is just one of their duties. And then of course you can so many ideas I got. You can obviously make it where like I said about the whole timer thing, so you can time the turns and time the game, so that way people get enough time to play the game and make it fair and balanced. I don't care if somebody can do some crazy outlandish combo in 2 minutes. It just gotta be 2 minutes. It's bullshit for them to waste I'll say like 6 minutes on a freaking combo, on a freaking strategy that is probably just going to add, let's say hypothetically, just add 10 cards to their hands and that's it, and then they just end their turns. Like, damn, you didn't even do damage. You wasted 6 minutes just to draw just to draw 10 more cards. Like, that wasn't necessary. That was literally just a waste of time, right? But anyway, what else I see wrong? But yeah, a tournament center would be awesome. Like a place that deliberately is focused on making sure that you have access to food, restrooms, obviously, good chairs, good tables, good, everything you would need. Also have access to like accessories like sleeves and mats and dices and things of that nature. Making sure that if you forgot to bring your stuff, or bring stuff, there's stuff there you can use. Hopefully you don't forget your deck. That'd be hard to replace. But if you forget a mat, you could always buy a mat. So if your sleeves are not good, you can always buy new sleeves. That kind of stuff. Which is always a good idea to be early, so that way you can do all that stuff. Buy stuff, mats and stuff like that, food and all that stuff, and prep. And that's another thing. Make sure you eat before, at least a couple hours before an event. Don't eat, at the start of the event. Because your body's gonna be digesting that food, so you're gonna be draining energy. So your body's gonna conserve, redirect, your energy to, digesting the food. So you wanna eat, because you wanna make sure you have some energy in your body, right? You have some food in your body, some nourishment, and let it digest, let it process. That way your body can convert that food into energy that you can use to actually, play the game. You want your first couple rounds of the tournament to be, to be good, to go nice and smooth. Definitely don't want to be nervous, right? You want to be cool, calm, and collective. You don't want to be in a scenario where you, are misplaying or you're overthinking just because, you want to win, and we all do. But when you have that type of mindset of wanting to win, that's ironically what causes you to lose. Because after the fact, after you play and you lose, you start thinking about your plays, your opponent's plays, and you start realizing like I made so many bad decisions. I could have done this, I could have done that, and hindsight is a bitch, right? So you start realizing like, yeah, man, that match should have been easy. I should have won that match, instead of like, oh man, because that's the thing. Sometimes it's the whole mind game thing. So, remember, it's like your mentality matters. So if your mind is full of doubt, then your body will react and manifest the doubt, right? Turn your doubt into reality. So it will literally cause you to do things that your body will deliberately do things to make sure that what you're afraid of happens. So if you're afraid of losing, well, that's what's going to happen. You're going to lose. Your body's going to give you what you are constantly thinking of. So if you're thinking of, making the right plays, making the right moves, and this and that, that's called being in the zone, right? You're going to get the results that you want. This is part of why, even though I lost a lot of my matches, I was very close to winning. Very close. Like super, super close. More closer than most other people. Because most people, their opponent still has 5 life when they lost, right? My opponents were at 2 or 1 life when I lost. So clearly, I was putting in that work with my play lines, right? The decisions I was making with the cards I was making. There's some, things when I think about it, like, maybe I shouldn't have comboed in that one point. Maybe I should have kept that 4-star ball in my hand instead of turning my 10K skillet into a 20K skillet. I should have just kept it at 10K, because I'm pretty sure I noticed my opponent making a move to take life before I comboed, or before I used the 4-star ball, which was an indicator that they weren't going to try to out combo, so it was pointless for me to combo. Right? Little details like that is important. That's something you'll notice in real life that you won't notice online, because online you don't know if your opponent is going to take the damage or not, right? Because that's the thing. It's up to them to decide if they're going to take the damage or not. That's part of the randomness of the game. One aspect of the game that's random is you never know when they're going to take the damage or not. So it's not up to you if they take damage or not. But if you play a certain type of way, usually you tend to lean your opponent towards taking the damage more often than not. So that's usually what you want. This is why I talk about like using 30Ks, 40Ks, 50K, attackers, mid to late game, because it forces your opponent in a position where, on average, they won't try to out combo, because they'll lose so much hand advantage. Because of it. Especially if they already have a low hand size, they're not trying to make it lower. So they'll rather take the hit, because that will actually increase their hand size as opposed to lowering their hand size. Right? To each their own. There's times where I'll deliberately just let my hand size get smaller, because my life is more important than my hand size. As long as I have the one card, like the one card win con, the card that I need to play to win, then that's all that matters. I don't need all these extra cards. Which is why it's important to have multiple ways you want to win. Yes, you can win the game with having a huge hand size and dump your whole hand into a single attack and go for game. Yes, that's one way of winning, but it's not the only way. That's why you should look at other ways of winning. You can win through your opponent decking out. You can win in time because you have more life than your opponent. You can win by, playing some burn effect or activating some cards auto win condition. Stuff like that. Let's see what else when it comes to tournaments that I see that's be wrong. Even just pairings, like some events would be more interesting if round one pairings were deliberate as opposed to random. Like the first rounds should be deliberate. Like that'd be kind of cool, especially like for DBS and most of the people who play competitively. They tend to be pretty well known in the community, online. So it would be kind of cool that, round one's, matchups are determined by the community, right? People who are probably going to be watching the streams or something like that, or at least just player votes or something. That'd just be cool. It'd just be cool to be able to choose an opponent, be like, hey, I want to play against this person, I just throw out hypothetical scenario, like I want to play one of the guys from the super players, bang, me versus them, that'd be kind of cool. That kind of stuff, right? Like be able to choose who my round one opponent is going to be, or have other people decide. Right? It'd just be interesting. It'd just make it more fun, and that's what I'm thinking about. I'm just thinking about what can make it more fun, what can make it more interesting, what can make it worth more, make it worth money, right? Because there'd be a lot of money. That's another thing, the disrespect of paying to enter in like the regionals that I went to. I had to pay to get into the building, and then pay for the tournament. So that right there, is an issue, right? It's like, okay, I'm paying extra just to be allowed into the building, when my entry to the event, right, to the tournament, should be covering the entry fee as well as anything else, right? Another thing that'd be cool, especially when you're paying an entry fee and stuff like that, there would be some drinks or something. There'll be, because we're humans, we gotta drink at least water, right? I should be able to when I'm really, really thirsty in between rounds, be like, let me go grab a bottle of water, I mean, I did pay for it since I paid to enter, right? You know, that kind of stuff would be kind of cool. Or at least that'd be part of the entry, the what you receive when you enter is like, here's some bag of chips or something, or you know, a choice, like, here, choose something, you know, you want from this snack pile, right? and you know, grab a bottle of water or something, or maybe some Gatorade or something like that, you know, something to give you energy and whatnot. But anyway, I'm just saying, it's just some ideas of like some stuff that I would do if I was hosting events. Part of why, you know, I had the idea for the tournament center was like, it'd be cool to set it up, you know, where you have dedicated judges, right? People whose job is to judge, and people whose job is to manage and run, you know, different, you know, tournaments and stuff like that, right? Have it where it's set up where you have people who promote the event, right? Who can make sure people come, you know, people come to the event. Transportation would be nice. It'd be nice if they can set it up where it's like, hey, get to this location, and you know, from that location we can take you the rest of the way, you know, to the event and back. That way it makes travel easier, because, like, I mean, the next event that I could potentially go to would be in Jersey. I mean, there's one in Washington, D.C., but Jersey is a lot closer to my location than Washington, D.C. is. But the thing is it's not anywhere near where I would like it to be. It would be nice if it was at the same event that I went to before in Jersey, because it'd be a little bit easier to get there. I mean, it's going to be costly. I'll try to find a cheaper way to get there. But the main thing was that this new route, which, you know, what's funny is, like, it'll be cheap to get there, so it's not going to cost me a lot to travel, but it's going to take me a long time to travel. That's the thing. It's like 3 to 4 hour travel. I mean, that was bad when I went to that Philly regionals. Like it took over an hour and a half just to try to get to the location. Well, no, actually it took up to 4 hours to get to the location. It felt like it took 2 hours at most just to get back home from the location. Getting there was like 4 hours. So that was So that was a problem that needed to be fixed. That's why it's like the idea that they, you know, that I have to travel in the first place, right? Just to be able to play against some people. And then the chairs weren't great, and the list goes on, right, of all the extra issues. So it's like, and then getting into the event, it took long. I was outside for maybe 30 minutes. Yeah, like about 30 minutes trying to get into the event. You know, there was a lot of miscommunication. That's another thing. A lot of miscommunications. You know, so that definitely adds to the disorganization of organized play. Like, when you hear the term organized play, you expect it to be organized, right? So that's when you hear the term tournament organizer, TO. You expect them to be really good at organizing, making sure that everything goes smooth, that everything is easy peasy. Their job is to make sure that nothing goes wrong, right? That everything goes smooth, that, you know, it's, you know, travel and registrations and everything is going smooth, that it's going, you know, according to plan, and that they have a plan. A lot of times it doesn't feel like they have a plan. It just feels like they're just there, you know, to get whatever compensation they're getting compensated for. You know, you really expect them to, like, really go all out. There's some people, you know, that I definitely give credit to. There's some people who know what they're doing, you know, and I respect what they're doing. And, you know, those are definitely the type of people you want to be part of these types of activities, because they're the ones who's going to make sure that there's a level of professionalism, right? That there's a level of organization, right, in these events, so that way things run smoothly, you know. There's some people who, you know, language barriers is a factor, like pronunciation, especially if people have accents. Sometimes that could be a problem, especially when it comes to explaining card effects. Somebody might pronounce certain things wrong, and that throws off the effect of the card. That totally changes what the card does, and that could create problems. Especially if you're like me, who's used to playing on tap, where you highlight the card and you read the card yourself. You know, that tends to make life easier for you. But in real life, when you want to read your opponent's cards and then you got to ask them for it, and then they could be assholes and not hand it to you, you know, which slows the game down, because it's like you need to read the card because you need to understand what's going on, right? That way you can understand. Like some people will have the habit of, for example, I've experienced this, will drop repost and then not even tell me that what I can attack with. That way it's like, oh, I can still attack with this and that. Okay, cool. They try to act like, oh, I play repost, and your turn is like, that's not baby hat jack. That's repost. Let me know exactly what I can and can't attack with, or what's the conditions. What's the conditions? What is the what is it called? What is the punishment for attacking? Like Topol, I understand. If I attack with anything, I have to pitch 2 cards, right? But there's some cards that says only battle cards get affected by the card effect, or only leaders, or only unisons, whatever, right? Not every card is, oh, I play, you just can't attack. Not every card is baby hat jack, right? So the thing is, some people act like it is. Like, oh, you already know, I dropped Topol, so you're ending your turn, right? No, I got like 30 cards in my hands. I'm clearly going to be attacking. Hope you're ready to defend. Like, you know what I mean? So that kind of stuff is the kind of stuff that I be noticing. It's like some people will try to act like, it's like you know. It's like I don't know. You know, I've been repost a couple of times now. That yes, I'm a little familiar with reposts. I personally played Topol and Oceanus, so I'm a little bit more familiar with the card. You know, so if somebody plays Oceanus or Topol against me, I would already know what to do. But there's a lot of other cards that are similar, that work differently, that I don't know, so I would need to be able to read the card. Or at least my opponent should be able to tell me the card's effect correctly, instead of a scenario where they'll try to tell me it's like, oh, this is just like this other card. I'm like, I don't even know what that other card is. I don't know what that other card does for you to use it as a reference, for you to compare it. You're trying to let me understand. You're trying to find a way to make it quick and easy for me to understand what your card does by referring it to another card. The thing is, I don't know what the other card is, so I still don't know what your card does, so I still need you to tell me what does your card do, so that way I can play properly against it. Like, you used it for a reason, let me find out, let me know what it does. But there's some people that will try to take a normal, honest situation like that, where if I don't know, I don't know, but then try to over exaggerate and be like, oh no, you're just stalling, or you're slow playing. It's like, no, I just don't know what the card really does, and I want to read it to make sure I do know what it does. Because if we're playing best of 3, right, then definitely I need to know what the card does, because you might end up using it again later, in game 2 or whatnot. So I need to know what it does now. And usually I try to remember every effect in the game, but I'm getting old. So remembering stuff can be a little problematic at times, right? So there's so much to remember. So it's like, okay, I rather just focus on remembering mostly what I play, and then try to be a fast reader. So that's the thing. I try to mainly focus on being good at reading card effects really quick, and understanding cards as quickly as possible. If I misread it and end up making the card more powerful than it really is, then that's on me. But as long as I can get a basic idea of how the card works, then, you know, I can interact with it, I can play with it, play against it, you know, because to me, ultimately, what matters the most is how much damage I deal my opponent and how little damage my opponent deals me. That's, you know, I simplified the game already. I just want to make sure that my opponent's not using something that just makes the game more complicated than it needs to be. Because if they're adding some type of extra layer, you know, like Hatchier, for example, right? That adds an extra layer to the game, right? You know, the whole, you attack with a battle card, bang, 7 costs or less, can't attack, as well as tokens. You know, that adds an extra layers to the game. And if you're not used to that effect, then that will change how you play, and that will change, you know, largely the outcome of the game for you. If you're not used to, you know, every time you attack, you have to decide what you're attacking with, what you're not attacking with, because, you know, the leader's effect will trigger. So, and some people are not even used to playing unisons like that, so forcing them to have to rely on the unisons and leaders for damage output, you know, throws some people off, which is good. As a head-shake player, that's what you want. You want to throw your opponent off. That way you have the advantage. But yeah, you know, tournaments would be a lot better if they were a lot more organized, if they were held in specific locations. I had the idea of like, let's say they host an event like in Jersey, for example, like the new, you know, like that, the Jersey tournament is coming up. Make it where I can go to my local card shop, right? The host game, games and stuff like that. They have tables and chairs, right? They have. I mean, might not be the most optimal setup, right? But at least they have a setup where I could play, and I could be part of that tournament, you know, with the help of the internet, of course, and be able to be matched up with some opponents. Some of the opponents might be in my actual, locals, so I could physically play against somebody, or if I had to play somebody else in a different locals or at the actual Jersey event, then, you know, we do it through webcam. But at least that'd be an option. At least that would make it where I can enter the tournament. You know, I'm still paying to be part of the event. You know, the local store would get a cut, obviously, of the proceeds and, you know, and whatnot. This is why it makes sense that, okay, when you go to the actual event, it's cheaper. Let's say the entry fee for the actual event is $30, but for you to enter the tournament from your local, let's say $40 or $50, right? That's fair, because that allows your locals to make some money, right? Because they're physically hosting, you know, they're physically being part of the event, so they're physically hosting people at, you know, in an actual physical location, and they got to be there, and they got to be judges and all that stuff, right? So they literally got to be part of the event, so they need to make a cut. And of course, the main event, right, has to make their cut, right? You know, money, right? They got to make money. I get it. I understand business. I'm a businessman, so, you know, everybody got to get a piece of the pie. So that's fair. Like, I would pay $50 just to go to my locals, considering the fact that my locals is like 1 bus ride away, you know, so it's very cheap for me to, you know, go to my locals and play at an event than it would be for me to go traveling around to different states, different locations, different countries, just to play a card game, right? Love playing card games, don't get me wrong. Love to have fun. But logically, Jesus Christ, we got technology. I shouldn't have to be traveling around the world just to play card games. You know, I've been waiting for the time where we start using the internet and technology, smartphones and stuff like that, to make it easier to play, you know, card games, board games, right, with anyone around the world. You know, I expect, you know, tournament organizers to be organizing these events better and using technology as part of that way of making it better, cheaper. And that's another thing. It makes it cheaper to, you know, host and to, you know, have people capable of partaking. That it makes it easier to, you know, make a lot of money, because you will have a lot of people. The more people you have at an event, the more eventful it will be, the more profitable it should be. You know, when you make things easier, right? When you make it easier, more convenient for people to do something, they'll pay the extra. They'll pay more. They'll pay premium. I mean, think about it. A lot of these, best cards in the game, right? Best extras in the format. There's a reason why they're expensive. Not just because of supply and demand, but it's also because of the fact that the cards, the decks, the strategies make the game easier for whoever is using them. So of course they'll pay premium. They'll pay a lot to get that easiness, to get hopefully the results that they want through what they got. So it's the whole pay to win concept, technically, right? The whole you want quality, right? You want the best, pay for it, right? So if you want quality, you got to pay for quality. If you want trash, then you're gonna pay trash prices. So me, I'll gladly pay $60 to go to my locals and just play at a regionals or a nationals or a world event or whatever. Shit, I'll pay $60 to just stay home, right? And set up my webcam and stuff like that, and play that way. So options. I've definitely been wanting to do like some webcam duels. That'd be pretty cool. There's been a lot going on, so I'll try to look more into that. Try to see if I can find some I can jump into. Sign up for. I just been busy with so many other things that I haven't been able to do the webcam stuff. Plus, I didn't have originally, I didn't have I wasn't at the new location that I'm at. So the new location I'm at is much better, more space, more room, because it's a way bigger room. So it's like, yes, more space, got more space. So I just gotta set it up, get some equipment to help me set up a webcam thing, do the whole Discord thing. So I have a Discord account, so it should be a problem to set that up. Just a matter of watching some YouTube video to figure out how to put it all together, so I can, be able to do webcam duels. We have really good internet at the house, so I've been meaning to do some more gameplays. More gameplays at the house, but usually when I get off of work, I'm just tired as hell. So I just spend most of my days off sleeping, unless I'm going to an event. Then no sleep. Like that regionals, good memories, except for traveling to the event and back. I mean, back wasn't bad. Traveling to the event was sucked. But being at the event was awesome. But I was tired. It did kind of suck that I was there technically alone, except for all the people who knew me or knew of me and talked and interacted with me. That was nice, but it would have been cool to be there with my team. And that's another thing. I need more team members. The fucked up part is that I had a team before, right? I built a couple of teams. They just left, so the teams disbanded. So that's the unfortunateness. It's like, okay, like now, I'm putting in more time and effort into going to events and stuff like that, trying to do that. And it'd be nice to be able to have other people involved. And it's like so much, especially somebody with a car. Definitely need a person with a car in the team, so that way, it makes it easier to travel. Among other things, right? Even traveling through like airplanes and staying at hotels, having a team is very useful because we can all pitch in, and that will lower the cost of going to events and stuff like that. That's the thing. It's like you want to definitely always want to be part of a team, right? You definitely want some like-minded people who like believe in what you believe in, wants to do what you want to do. Ironically, not many people are as dedicated as I am. I'm not perfect, but at least I try to be as dedicated, putting in the time and effort, I would like to play test more in IRL. Shit, I'm tired. I would love to play test more in real life. Cause I haven't done that in a long time. You know, I do test hands, but I haven't played against too many people in a long time. Except for the events that I went to. Those are the only times I actually got to. So that's the funny thing. The only play testing I've gotten in real life was going to these events and playing on hard mode, right? Playing during play testing during battle. But you know, I'm a fast learner, so it works either way. I don't need a lot of play testing. It's just a good idea to get some play testing, because sometimes you get inspired and you come up with like a cool idea, or sometimes you might realize like, this card, I have it for a reason, but in reality I don't really need it. Because sometimes, you know, you underestimate your abilities, right? You underestimate how good you've gotten, you know, in the game. Like, it's been months and months since, you've been playing a certain deck or whatnot, and after a while, you start realizing this, like, yeah, there's a certain card in my deck that I barely use because I barely, allow myself to be in a position where the card is useful. Like the way I, long time ago, experienced the whole super combo thing, where it's like, I barely have 4 less life. I typically have 5 or 6 life, on turn 4 or 5. So it's like, super combos have always been useless. Well, those anyway, the old school ones, where you have to have 4 less life in order to just get 10k combo power and then the draw. So they've always been very useless to me. So that's why I stopped using them for a long time. I mean, I still don't use them, but I use other super combos. Just that I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna keep putting them in the decks if all I'm gonna do is charge them as energy. I'd rather put something more useful, something else. And that's why I started using Champa, Supreme Kai more, to replace the super combos. So it's like, I need other stuff. I need better stuff. Battle cards that can negate an attack is more useful to me than a super combo. So things like that is what I, started doing. And it works. If it works, it works, right? It's not like I took out super combos out of my decks and immediately my decks drastically lost power, lost consistency, all this stuff. Like, no, it got better and improved the deck's consistency. It improved the deck's defense capabilities and offensive capabilities because of the diversity of Champa and Supreme Kai. I can use them defensively by paying 1 energy and out combo an attack, or I can power up an attack and give it double strike. So Champa and Supreme Kai definitely great improvements for my deck. And the fact that I can splash them in any deck just always guarantees that every deck has that benefit, has that power boost. So it always guarantees that all my decks are equal in capabilities and power. And that I know how to play the decks regardless of what deck I grab or build. I know how to play it because I already know how to use a lot of these cards already. We call them staples, right? When you're really, when you play the same cards over and over again, you become the master of it, right? You become the master of using those cards. So, of course, those cards are going to put in the work that you expect it to do. And then after that, it's just a matter of decision making, maybe some tech choices to try to, change things up and to try to make things different and unique and go that route. But anyway, that's enough. That's the end of the podcast.